pinnacle of human perspective.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful Tuesday. I wasn't really sure when, there we go, when Michelle hit me up. I'm like, is it the right day?
And then you made me question my reality. Is it Tuesday?
Man, it's hard to keep up, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. Blurry. Yeah. If it wasn't for this Tuesday show, I don't think I'd have any sense of time. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it does help. It definitely helps.
Keeps me plugged into where we're at.
So, I had something cool happen a couple of mornings ago I need to mention because I plan on getting out of the city next week and getting footage to share with you guys. But I got to see the comet, Comet Neowise.
Oh, nice.
Early morning. It was so cool. The clouds were like kind of moving in and out, and I'm like, man, are they going to block it? Am I going to be able to see it? I had already missed 2 mornings, where the clouds like moved in like right before I should have been able to see it, so I was like, oh, is it going to do it again? So finally, I was looking, I have binoculars, I'm like looking through at right around where it should be, and finally I see it. And once you see it, you can like pull the binoculars away and it almost just looks like a faint little cloud or something, because it's like the sun's starting to come up or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at it again. It was like, oh, that's so cool. I've got to like set up my tripod and stuff. So I did all of that. It took only about 2 minutes or something, but I couldn't find it again after that. So I'm going to have to give it another shot. Yeah, it sucks because it's hard to see it, but I did get to see it with the binoculars, but I didn't get to take a picture. And I've got to hook this lens onto my camera to be able to get a really good. I probably could have used the zoom on the camera of the phone. I probably should have just done that. That way I could have at least had something. But at any rate, so I got that going on. That was exciting.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you like to get up out early and see what you can see.
Shout out to Scott. He's like, it's Tuesday? Yep, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Here we are. Exciting
Apparently
stuff.
It's Tuesday.
Right. So we're moving out of a Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Our electronics?
The actual date, but I forgot. We just got started. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's done now. We're coming out of it. So.
Right. So at least stuff will be operating. Okay. So coming out of the summer solstice, of course, I mentioned last week I had this sort of ball of anxiety in my heart area, when I began to allow myself to get pulled into a few different people's drama type things going on. And I was like, oh, and I just felt this sort of come over me, be still and know that I am, and just sort of resting in that I am presence of my own, my own bubble, you know what I mean? But still, you got, stuff comes through, but there's like a balance between, it's sort of dealing with things with compassion or actually allowing, yourself to kind of get pulled into things. So
that's it. And it's really, I think that's coming up right now is those situations drawing our attention to polarity and whether or not we're going to be pulled to that. And, a lot of the downloads that I've been getting this week and is really seeing that these 2 pillars and that we need to go through the middle, down the middle, right between the 2, not one, not the other. It's, this sun worship, moon worship, the polarities, it can be expressed in a multitude of ways, and us, being drawn into those, taking sides or choosing a side, It's in opposition to another belief, and that's what happens. And I think we're really feeling that right now. Like when you're feeling something from one side or the other that's trying to pull that energy, pull you to polarize, choose a side, to care, right? Well, you should care because you're supposed to be an empathetic person. I thought you were a good person. Aren't you a nice person? Don't you care? And that drawing on that, and so again it comes up to that unrequired guilt and shame that we carry. That's like, oh, because then you feel like a bad person if you don't care. Like they make you to feel like, well, you're bad that you just don't care, and you should feel guilt and shame for that, right? So it's really about this releasing this obligation to feel guilt or shame, or to feel that you're supposed to care about something. You're supposed to pick a side, choose an opinion, get in on the debate. And that's what's we're reacting to. That's we're being called to not do that, to move through, to move between the space, the void between, that does not care.
All right.
And that, and it's like, oh, the shame of not caring. You terrible. It's not sarcasm. It's no, I am not going to hold that energy. I am not going to hold that, like that caring, that taking it into myself, and holding space for that polarity within myself, that argument, that
Right.
point of view, perspective. I can see all of them, so we can move in between. It's not that I don't respect it. It's just seeing that is a perspective reality. That's true for that person on that side, and it's equally true for that person on that side. In their reality, there's equal conviction in the side that they're choosing. And we are being called to release the guilt and shame, so we can stand in sovereignty and speak clearly and truly and say, no, actually, I'm not going to participate. I'm going to move in between the two spaces,
And that's
right?
interesting because we're coming up on the 8-8 Lionsgate portal, which Eileen and I are actually going to be doing a meditation for that. But that's what I visualized, sort of going through this gateway when you talk about these pillars, and
Mm-hmm.
Goliath walking between. And so I got that visualization as almost like structures, too, tearing down the old system of duality, maybe, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well, that's what we're
but
seeing right now with this Saturn and Jupiter conjunction.
mm,
Those are the two pillars. Those are the two, the two side, the conscious, the unconscious. We need to move in between the two, right?
that's interesting. They
Um,
are right together
and
in
I
the
think
sky
that's
right
where
now.
Pluto is playing a role in this.
Yeah,
Sorry, just to say, because it's right in line
yeah,
there right now too, and
yeah.
that's part of this interaction. And we're being called, I think, to experience what it feels like to move in between those two polarities. That power control system um, is falling apart. So
So what I'm wondering is, and I'd love to get everybody to chime in. Yeah, Jamie's saying pick no sides, and this is how I've seen it play out. I've had things personally come up in my life that I've had to deal with. I've had people close to me that's dealing with things, and I'm noticing it's like everyone close to me that I'm at least aware of what's going in their life. It's like they're dealing with something. At least maybe 50% of the people are at least dealing with an extra level of kind of just feeling agitated and kind of done with it. The feeling can manifest in a myriad of ways, but it can manifest as sort of hopelessness, tired of this, impatience, agitation with so many just anything these days.
yeah,
Anything can agitate you, whether it's your family member or what you see on the news or anything. I mean, everything. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're the ones in charge. We're the ones that decide whether or not we're going to allow these external forces to come in and still
take
our
up
bliss.
space and
Yeah,
take up space within us,
yeah, like
with
carrying it
inside
around like luggage. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, when the solstice came in, it did something inside of us. It created an opportunity to actually experience that space.
Yeah.
Um, I had it come through in a really sort of powerful dream experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're experiencing that in different ways energetically, this opening up. And so now there's that newness to it because it's a new opening. And so when things are coming in to try to fill that space, it's highly sensitive, and we're really feeling that reaction inside of us, whether we're consciously aware of it or not. We're reacting to like, no, I don't want to participate in that anymore. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to pull it inside me, no matter what good reasons you have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're just feeling it, because when you start to, then the energy, it bounces around inside of you. And it creates this like anxiety, because we're not standing in that like firmness of the solar plexus, and
Mm-hmm.
and just feeling that rooted security. And I think that's really where this space has been made. So
For me, it's like moving out
yeah,
of the heart space. It's like
yeah.
as soon as you start playing out these scenarios in your mind, it's just natural to get out of the heart space. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's like, because you imagine what if things go wrong, or what if, just depending on what it is, it's like you begin to worry. I mean, that's what the
Yeah.
planning's all about, is to think of like, if something goes wrong, how can I handle this? And then you begin to play out these things. And with our creative abilities, our manifestation abilities coming on, we've got to be careful, because we might inadvertently bring about some of these things we're sitting there dwelling on and putting so much energy into it.
Well,
And
this
maybe that's what this internal warning I've been feeling like, yo, step back from this, because you're putting your energy right now into something you don't want to put your energy into. And I think as light workers, we need to help other light workers and sort of help pull them out rather than get pulled into things. You know what I mean?
yes, as
Yeah.
best we can. But that's it. This is really preparation for instant manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
That is coming,
Yeah.
because you have to be in that space, or you're going to continue to create polarity.
Yeah.
That's just it. And then you're going to instantly manifest that experience. And if you go into fear, you can't bring yourself back down into that space. You can't calm, breathe, and say, no, this is me, not that story.
Yeah.
Then you're just going to, off you go, and you'll create a nightmare. So this is all preparation for that ability of instant manifestation, and making sure that we can handle it
Yeah.
and not get caught up in our own stories and our own good reasons. Right?
Right. That's so
Yeah.
funny that you say that, because that's like the job of the, you'll have that initial feeling like, better not. But then you're like, well, you better keep an eye on things. You better say something. You better, if you don't say something, who will? And, you
Hmm.
must, I mean, it can play out in so many different ways to trick us into the distraction, because that's really all it is.
Yeah.
No matter
I think
what it is, it's just a
yeah.
distraction.
A great one is if you catch yourself explaining yourself in your head to somebody else, or like to them. Are you explaining yourself? Then you're still tied in, like, or overly like, that's one way. We're telling a story then, right? You're giving a that's the break, because that's what our mind kicks in and does. It gives us all
Oh
the
yeah.
explanations of why we should care. Well, there's preparedness. Well, you should be a good person. Well, like all these different reasons, right,
Right.
that get us to play the game. But yeah, it's really coming up in so many ways right now. Are you going to partake in the drama? Are you going to choose a side, or are you going to choose the flow? The flow is that river that just goes right through the middle of those two poles, those two
Mm-hmm.
polarities. And that's what came back to me this week, and in the downloads that I was getting, was a dream experience that I had a year ago, which was like a physical energetic embodiment experience and dream.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was a simple scenario. It was like super vivid, super clear. And I'm in this house and I walk into this, they take me down to this basement, into this back room, and it's just a plain wooden table and two plain wooden pillars on the table. That's it. And they just pointed at the pillars, and I looked at them. I looked in between the two pillars. I didn't know what this meant at the time, but now here it is a year later. I'm getting the information on why this happened,
You
what it
actually talked
meant.
about this on one of the shows, didn't
Oh,
you?
I
It sounds
did.
familiar. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And 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 as soon as I looked between the pill, it was like whoosh, like that pop, and I experienced embodiment, complete freedom and bliss, no explanations required.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, not, you're not carrying anything. You're just woo, you know, like off and running,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a completely different state of being. So yeah, so what's really come back to me is that's what this is, what's come around right now is these two pillars, and that the key to lighting up this embodiment process is going right between the middle, right, the
Right.
middle eye, between the two eye, not the left eye, not the right eye, the middle eye,
Right.
right
The
through the middle.
balance, the rainbow bridge, where you get the balance between the left and the right, which is, that gets back to that whole Mandela effect message that it's happening because we're out of whack, we're out of balance. We've suppressed the
Hmm.
divine feminine, the nurturing and the loving and all of that, the
Yeah, and
creativity.
that's what I've seen this week, that it's an alchemic process.
Yeah.
So, what we should talk about next is what I've meant to talk about the last couple weeks, and I put it in the notes and kept missing it. And I hadn't experienced it myself until just this past week, but had seen many reports of people experiencing an increase in silent migraines. So, um, I didn't even know what a silent migraine was until a few months ago. I wasn't even aware. So I've only just recently had them myself, and have learned it's not like a headache, it's not pain, it's something with your vision that all of a sudden you'll start seeing maybe streaks or light patterns or something, right? So, and it disturbs your vision, and I think some people can block out their whole vision, and I know I've heard as well that it often precedes an actual migraine. So people who experience migraines regularly will often get this silent migraine, which is kind of like a preemptive warning to them that they've got a migraine coming on. I the two times that I've had it, I didn't experience a headache at all. So, but but what I did experience this time was really interesting. I got a dog scratching at the door.
No problem.
Hold on.
Louise says yes, migraines galore.
Sure.
She's chiming in exactly. Yeah, and I think, yeah, Bilbo, Jamie, you guys are chiming in with the whole idea of not picking sides, and I like that because that's the whole unbiased and on the fence thing. I mean, even if you don't jump on someone else's ideas that they have, even their worldview or something, you're still going to expand your own knowledge and consciousness to set your feelings about how everything works and just kind of think about it from their point of view for a moment. How can that
Mhm.
not expand? I love that because so many things are like default for us. Like, we don't even realize it's like just the default way of thinking from our culture. And a lot of times, just looking at the way another culture looks at it, not saying that you're going to go and convert, but just looking at it can help you to understand your own better. And it only makes sense that we can remain open minded in our learning, but as well as some of these arguments that we
Hmm.
see when people have these. You can just be the observer or not even watch it. It's your choice to sort of step into that sphere of chaos, right?
Yeah, or, yeah, or set opinion, you
Yeah.
know. our set belief. And I think we can by observing, we can still experience other people's beliefs, like to step behind the eyes of another, to actually, like you said, remove those defaults
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of try to experience sort of this open slate of looking behind those eyes and seeing, you know, how they, that's their reality, that's their truth, and just to leave it at that, and that's okay, and that's
Mm-hmm.
their process, that's their road. Like, I don't know their whole story. You know, you're never going to know somebody else's entire story. So even if the words that they are saying to you and the belief systems that they are, you know, are holding seem like they are behind or backwards, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know ultimately in the whole configuration of their path
Mm-hmm.
where the, you know, what that means. Does that mean maybe that accelerates them at some point? Like, you don't
Right.
know an individual's process, so we can't judge you, but we can for a moment just remove that default, step behind another lens and say, okay, I can understand your experience, but I also don't have to take it on in me.
Right.
I can respect the fact that you are perceiving your reality that way and you believe it to be true.
Right.
And I can release the need to even say that you're right or wrong. Who am I to even say that in your reality, from your perspective, you are right?
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You
And
are
that's
right.
actually the perspective that you take. Just a moment, just to, you know, it like you were just saying, you don't have to, you know, pick them up permanently, but when you pick them up for a moment and try it on like an outfit, you know, and really consider why they believe it that way, that really brings the walls down between. You're like, oh wow, I see why they believe that. I can totally see if I was raised that way, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was always exposed to. They're just people like me. They've got their family. They want to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, you start to tear apart those things that make us different, and you start to realize how much we really are the same regardless of those defaults that make us feel a lot different when we see that someone maybe worships God a completely different way that seems completely foreign to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So or whatever it is, you know, food or culture, or any practices really, you know what I mean, that can seem
Yeah.
weird
Or
if it's not
political
your own.
beliefs,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Are so many different things. It
Hmm.
applies to everything because we are so different in our beliefs. And
But as soon
yeah.
as you pick a side, like we're saying here, on really on anything, it's like you throw a wall up. It's like you drop down in the cubicle of. You remember I said in the beginning, I saw all these cubicles and everybody was sort of down in their cubicle, and the unbiased and on the fence was sort of just to hop out of it and not get so blinded by your beliefs that you can't even see the world around you. So
That's it.
you
And
know,
you
it
know,
kind of
this is
goes
what
back to that.
leveling up is about. It's lifting above that reality,
Hmm.
lifting above that limited 4x4
Yeah, the division.
3D perspective,
Hmm.
right? And to see, yeah, to sort of float. It becomes a consciousness, multi-layered experience,
Hmm.
that
You
you're
know what
not
else?
locked into, trapped in.
Yeah, you know what else is kind of cool about it? Because we're talking about this movement to balance out the left brain and the right brain. And the left brain's very analytical, very structured and waffle like these cubicles we're seeing, you know? So as we're moving more into this fluid, dynamic ocean of consciousness and love and all of that, that's more right brain, you know? So that's the area above the grid of separation. And
Hmm.
so even if you visualize this as rising above, that's sort of this rainbow bridge in the brain that we were talking about, that
Yeah, but I'm
between the
even
pillars.
wondering, because the brain, you look at the brain too, right? And it's halved,
Yeah,
and it's like it's also, some of these changes that going on. Is Could we be melding those hemispheres again?
I think
Are the
so.
two pillars the left and right side of the brain, the left and right eye? Is that part of like that going between the middle?
Yeah.
really where the hemispheres
Mm-hmm.
are disconnected and are separate, is part of this new experience of leveling up, emerging. It's not choosing the right side over the left side. It's the merging of the two, in a balanced in union way,
Right.
to a new level of understanding. So I wonder if that's
Yeah,
you know
it's like the pine cone, the pineal gland in the brain is right there in the center of the hemispheres and creates this mandorla in a way. Like you
yeah,
always see the holy people pictured in these almond shaped, like
that's
whether it's
it.
Jesus or Mary or somebody, they're pictured in this gateway, this doorway, and that's the doorway,
And it's in
to the,
between the
yeah,
two the
yeah,
two halves in between, and that's the doorway. That's the real portal.
yeah,
you know it's
the
right up
portal.
the middle. So yeah, which is, I think it's got to do, all that symbolism has got to do with that pineal gland. That's the middle door.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things that's taught me with these PQH sessions, because David Mott is saying I've tried to try red pilling and no one listens, is realizing that everyone has a higher team that's helping them on their
Mm-hmm.
journey, and their mission might not be the same as yours. Actually, somebody's mission might be to be a troll to you and to help you grow more because they're just
Mm-hmm.
a pain in your butt neighbor or something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That might be
Yeah.
why they're here. I mean, they're serving a purpose. And I think a lot of times we take the whole idea of Satan, the adversary, as being this horrible thing, but that's where the growth comes in. That's where the duality, the resistance comes from, that
Mm-hmm.
allows us to grow more than just sipping a martini on a beach, which is nice,
Well,
but yeah,
I think taking the need, no matter how good you think your reasons are,
yeah,
taking the need out of thinking that you're going to change somebody, whether it's to wake them up or whatever the reason is. um Again, it's not your job to change somebody else. It's your job to change you. So why are you worried about somebody else?
so much easier to love though, isn't
What's
it?
that?
I said so much easier to just love because that's really
Meet
the
them where
best
they're
way.
at,
Yeah,
without having to change them at all.
yeah,
you know just meet them where they're at.
mm-hmm,
We always want people to know, meet us where we are, and then want to change them and explain why they should be where we are. And we
mm-hmm,
spend all this time explaining to them why they're not where. Why do they care? Who are we to say that?
yeah.
So release the need to explain that, or changing people's perspective. It's not really our job. I think God can do a way better job of it than we can.
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
trying to think of oh, I can't think of his name now, but he in the montage video he said the Mandela effect seemed like God was showing off. I was like, that is kind of true. You got these rainbow mountains and just
yeah.
all these new colorful species and stuff. He's like, this isn't Satan doing this. This is like God showing off or something. I'm like, totally right, man. Totally with you on
Yeah.
that one. You know.
It's like he walks in and just takes the whole game board away. Now how are you going to explain things? Now how are
Yeah.
you going to play the game? The rules
Yeah.
all changed. Yeah, let's see. Oh, it's
But it's fun.
interesting.
It's fun. It's a time of transformation and stuff. So being
Mm-hmm.
alive for this time, and really getting into the mechanics, that the way things are working behind the scenes, because it's becoming more and more apparent. At least, I'm like watching the news and I'm like, man, how much longer before people are like, stuff just doesn't add up. I mean, how bad does it? You know what I mean? But people are waking up, is my point. And the thing is, not everyone has to, because there is that whole very scientific idea of the hundredth monkey effect. And when enough people realize something, the others will just say, wait a minute, why are they trying to give me this um,
Mm. I've been
shot?
getting
Or,
some,
why
yeah,
are they
I've been
trying to
getting
do
some
this?
interesting messages this week about um people finding that other people are coming to them, like especially in this accelerated mass over the last 4 to 5 months, but
Yeah,
even more so now, especially
yeah.
with this. uh I don't know if you guys know about Wayfair. So and with that all come up, it's like all these people that were really on another side or having that like what's going on. It's a whole other level. So I'm hearing a lot of people saying, you know, a year ago, these people, they're coming to me now saying, oh, I thought you were crazy.
Right.
What's going on? What's
Right.
going on? So that's really accelerating.
Well, I just met a couple. Like it was actually the 4th of July, and they're kind of asking what I was doing. I was like, oh no, what do you tell people, And I was like, well, have you ever heard of the Mandela effect? I figured, what the heck, it's a kind of a party atmosphere, and I started telling them about it, and I was telling them everything I told them. They knew the old way and didn't know it had changed, and their jaws had dropped, and they were like, this other weird stuff has been happening to me too, and then they started getting into these supernatural things that's been happening to them, like, and they're like straight up just waking up, right? Talking about just I don't know, just really talking about waking up type things, and I'm like, wow, that's
Yes.
so freaking cool that. And then I got a text from him a few days later, talking about what do you think about the COVID thing, and of course that's really complicated to try to explain in a text message, but it
Mm.
really depends on from what level you look at it. But
Hmm.
ultimately, I see this thing all working out. Creating opportunities, making people look where they normally wouldn't look, and
Yeah.
it's just
Ask questions that they didn't
yeah.
ask before.
It's happening fast. You just can't see it. It's
Oh
like
my
this
gosh, it's happening really
simmering.
fast.
Yeah, it's like everybody's at home, so you can't see what's happening. But
Yeah.
all of these people awakening everywhere, and their lights turning on, and I know
Yeah.
it's happening. I could feel it happening.
Yeah. I've seen that hashtag just Lane didn't kill herself. That's why does she have a submarine license? Like what?
Yeah, yeah, I haven't looked into that, but
Oh,
she is
crazy
still
stuff.
alive, right?
But
They're just making jokes that they'll probably try to
well,
make it
no,
look like
yeah,
she,
well, that's it
right? Okay,
exactly.
I was just
Right?
making sure I
Will
didn't
she
miss
go the
something.
way of but it's just funny to see these these things. It is getting it. It's a floodgate now. So we just have to sit back and just observe. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
go ahead. I was gonna bring up symptoms, but I didn't have anything to
Well,
add. Go ahead.
we were talking, which is what I was going to do anyways. So we're fine.
Okay, good.
Because I wanted to get back to the silent migraine.
Oh
So
yeah,
I don't
yeah. We
know.
kind of went off
Yeah.
track on
I don't
that
know if
one. So,
anybody popped in there and said they've been experiencing that at all.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I just wanted to share my experience with it because it was very unusual. Um, I noticed it kicked in my vision. So it was taking up about like this much space in my vision, kind of like this,
All right.
right? And it was like banners of color, different colors. Like the first one I saw was like blue, and it actually looked like there was a little white circle and would look like were like little numbers, like a little number in the circle. And I was seeing all these banners, like blue, and then like purple or mauve and yellow, and they were shuffling. They were like sort of this rotated shuffle. It started to remind me. It started to remind me of a calculation. This is really strange, but I don't know why. But it was like I don't know if I did a little. You can't really see it very well. No, never mind that. You can't see it. But it looked like it was like this banner of color was like a certain shape. It would maybe be shaped a little different, and then there was another one over top this one, divided by this one over this one, and it was like shifting, like it was doing calculations, like it looked like to me, or like if you were to have like a jig zigzaggy Rubik's cube of different colors, and it was like, and I'm watching it, and I even like, I was just trying to focus because it's really weird. Wherever you place your gaze, wherever I'd look, it's just following. So I'm just stopped, and I'm just trying to look and see what it is I'm seeing, and they're like rotating, moving around like calculations, and then all of a sudden, it just went. It was like it just went click, and it looked like a DNA strand rotating,
Mm.
And it literally, I was seeing rainbow. Like it started out like gold, like bright diamond gold, and it was like you'd see like LED lights like running across, like the rainbow colors like
Right.
running across the strands. So
Mm-hmm.
and it was rotating. It was rotating, and as it rotating, the rainbow lights were like running along, and it was glowing like this golden like light off, like this electric light off it. It was like it was charged with these rainbow colors going through, and I could sort of see like little lines like this in between the twisting, rotating two rainbow ladder lines,
Hmm.
and they were like rotating like this. So I'm like, what is what is going on? So I went to lay down, and just when it like very quickly went into this meditative state, and then started getting like all this information about colors, which I know, like obviously. And it's funny because it's not done yet, but I started this last week, and it's a wheel of colors with energy coming off them, and I'm going to be doing like a Mandela drawing in the center. So it's not even done, but I started working on this before I had this experience. And so it was taking me through all of the colors like energetically, and the knowing like the resonating with it, so that like I know what that color means symbolically, energetically, what it involves, what what it is. And then it was showing me that those like banners, it was like a calculation. It said it was alchemy, it was the mastery of color in the alchemic process, because it all takes place inside here. It's a level of understanding that kicks in an alchemic process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it took me through all of that, and it was explaining that like we all have this sort of different calculation. Like what's getting done right now is this like shuffling of these colors, these energetic colors. We're all different, we all have these different calculations, and it's quickly getting shuffled right now in whatever energy requirements each individual has. It's being applied by color alchemy. And it's
Okay, so let me. I was like reading the chat and listening to you. I just want to make
yeah,
sure I didn't mess anything up. This all started from the headache, right? The silent
it was a
migraine,
silent migraine. Yeah, it wasn't even a
right?
headache. It was
Uh,
just I wasn't having pain. It was just
okay,
in my
so
vision.
you were seeing these, like people were talking about last week, these DNA strands, and then so you
Hmm.
decide to lay down, and that's when you got this download. So if anybody gets those silent migraines, as they call it, because they probably don't know what it is that why they call it that? It sounds like what I was
I have
thinking.
no idea. I'd never even experienced one
Is it a
until
Mandela
earlier
effect?
this year. Sorry.
I said, is it a Mandela effect? Is it something new, or have you
I'm
guys
well.
known
Mom
about
said
silent?
she, no. I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Um, Mom
definitely
said
could have not heard about it.
she used to have them. So when it happened to me, she told me what she's like. Oh, that's when it happened to me, like back in the spring. She told me what it was. She's like, oh, that's a silent migraine. I'm like,
Hmm,
oh, okay. So
interesting.
new to me. And but when I had it the first time, it was just like my vision was like shattered with light. It was like all like this,
Right.
just light, like fractured light like this.
Mm-hmm.
Was weird and sort of staticky. But this was very specific. This was really strange. It still had like this glowing light coming off of it, like shattering everything around it. But to see like specific colors, and to even see this like little circle, I couldn't see what the numbers were, but it was like I I could tell they were just like little numbers in a circle, and this shuffling until it and then locked, and then it was literally lit up. The whole thing just lit up, and it was like firing off like Knight Rider Kit's car with the
That's so
like that, but
wild.
rainbow.
Wild.
Yeah.
So that's happened twice now, then?
No, no. That happened like that just this week.
Oh,
Just
okay.
this.
What happened?
the first time it was just like I just saw like shattered light in my vision. The first
Oh,
time
okay, I
early
got
in the
you.
spring first time I ever experienced a silent migraine, it was
Yeah.
just like having was like all this jagged light in my vision. It was disrupting my vision. But this was different. This is
Wow.
very specific. I'm like,
Okay,
that's
so
actual
there's
color and pattern. Like, and I'm watching this and I'm like, I'm actually seeing this in my vision. It was very bizarre.
so crazy.
Yeah, and then it was really all, just experiencing all this information, like washing through, like to take me through each color and put all these pieces together, and it was just explaining that it was part of the mastery of because I'm an alchemist, and it's part of the alchemic process, mastery of color. And
Hmm.
that's why I am what I am and do what I do. And that's why I was expressing this last week. It told me that's why you're drawing that. That's what you're taking in right now.
The frequency
So
and the vibration. Yeah, because that's what
yeah,
color
how
actually
we get
is.
these downloads, and then it shifts our knowing,
Yeah, it's like
and then
colored
our
light
knowing shifts
downloads.
our cellular structure, literally. You know, by just we resonate, and then I'm really wondering, are we waking up into literally a new body? Like we're just we step into the resonating reality that we're at, and we just pop into that, because I had experience a couple of weeks ago right after the solstice where it was like we talked about this. You felt like it was a mirrored. I felt like I'm viewing. It's the same world, but I'm viewing it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm taller. Like
Yeah.
this feels like a new body. And then I was even explaining how I felt like it took me a good week to start to regain my balance again. I felt like if I wasn't in myself watching what I was doing, I was like banging off of things. So, and then mom had an experience, just this last week too, and she's just this puzzled look on her face in the kitchen, like what is going on here? Like, feels it's the same room, but it's not the same room.
Yeah.
It feels bigger. There's more space in here. There's more space in this room. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, you look smaller in the space. Like, what is going on here? Like I'm looking at her in this space and thinking, it does look different.
But is this getting back to the thing we were dealing with the perceptions? You know?
Yeah.
Wow, that's strange.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just see our rooms bigger and then?
You know what? I think
bigger?
it's a great time to pull out the video of the Buddha glow. The Buddha glow.
Oh, let's see. How did you send that to me? Let's see.
Yeah. Let's get excited about this. Because this is what I literally think people are going to see. I think all of a sudden people are going to they're going to be walking around looking like this. And people are going to see it and they're going to be like, what is up with that?
Here we go. It opened in the right window and everything.
What's up with that?
How big can I make this here? There we go. Sorry you can't see it.
That's okay. I watched it several times. Love it. You can even see the rainbow sort of golden glow on the pavement, reflected onto the pavement from him. And the light off his hands when he moves his hands, and you see the beams.
Yeah. Really cool.
Get your glow on.
This reminds me though of when you were on the air that time and the sun was coming in, and you were doing this in the sun.
Yeah, that was crazy, and the same golden glow, the gold, because I was in the zone that day. Like I knew that the message wasn't my own, and when you go back and look at that video when I had that glow coming off, it's all gold, just like sort of his center chest area is all gold. Well, it was all gold around my throat and mouth back then. That was like Was it 2 years ago?
Gosh, I don't know. Was it 2018?
That video, and it was like, what is that? What is that? It was just like powder
Yeah.
coming off. It was just that's but that same thing, that light. And so, but mom, now I said, over the last couple of weeks, she's been like, she's looking at, because she can see that light, that beam of light, just like that, just like in that video, that light that he's got coming off of him. She can see it coming off her fingers and her hands, whether she's inside, outside. So she's seen that. I really think that's what's going to happen. We've got different abilities, and I think it's interesting. She's a Sagittarius, and their motto is "I see." Right. So, and me, Aquarius, I know. So, but so here she is seeing, and she's seeing this light coming off, and then I found that video, and she's like, that's it, that's what I'm seeing. So I think that's really going to happen is, as we get more and more of these activations, you're going to see people walking around glowing like that, and other people are going to be like, what do they know?
Right.
What is going on? How come these people are glowing? Am I glowing? How do I glow?
Get your glow on.
Get your glow on.
Yeah, get your glow on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what we're doing. We're shining our light, aren't we?
That's right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's talk about another symptom then, the phone ringing.
Oh, yeah, the vibrating. So if you guys missed it last week, have you been experiencing feeling your phone vibrating in your back pocket, but yet it's on your desk or somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can actually feel like maybe you're sitting on the couch and maybe it's vibrating on the couch and you're feeling it in your seat.
Yeah. Or you're literally inside of you. So
right.
I know several people now, including, I had it a few months ago, and I was like, when it happened to me, I talked to you about it, and was like, I don't know if I really want to bring this up on the air, because this is really weird, Shane, but and I was trying to explain it to you, and it was in the perineal.
Right.
And it was that same sensation, like your phone's, but like up in there. Right. And then it would cause like twitching or spasms and stuff. And you're like, what is going on? I had it for 3 days straight. 3 days straight. It's like, who's calling? Who's calling down there? Right? And believe it or not, sometimes we can all get a little bit shy about these. I like to share a lot of stuff, but I was like, how do I share this? Like back then. And now here, months later, I'm starting to, I've had other people saying, oh my God, I'm having this thing happen. It's really weird. You explained it as back in the back pocket. I've noticed in different spots, different areas, but again, it kicked in the perineal, and then I've had a few other people come and say that that's happened lately too. So not just like is somewhere, it could literally feel like it's up inside you. It could feel like it's in your in your solar plexus. So you could be getting that sensation in different places. Yeah, very, very unusual. Yeah.
So that still goes back to this vibrating or opening up chakras, maybe, or something, clearing things away, or something.
I really think this energy comes in. It's coming in faster and smoother and more quickly. It's not bottlenecking quite as much, because we have cleared a lot of space. So I really find it comes in, it goes boom, goes down to that root a lot quicker. A lot faster now than even the beginning of the year, when we're really dealing like with that bottlenecking issue. I really feel like it comes in now and it boom goes right down to that root. And then that's where the ringing starts, and it like pings off, and the reverberations, it's like it lights up, and it starts calling, and then to feel all kinds of different things going on as the energy moves back up and back out again. Literally like things are being shifted inside. like your guts are being moved around a little bit,
That's
weird
kind of how the
twitches and
one, yeah,
spasms.
the one I was
Is there a
explaining last
baby in
week.
there? What's going on?
Right.
Yeah, I'm not really very unusual
That's
stuff
so
like
funny
that.
because when I first mentioned it to my wife, she's like, "What does it feel like?" I'm like an alien's moving around inside my stomach down there or
Yeah,
something. I don't know. It feels real
yeah,
weird. It's like a muscle twitch that just kind of feels like it's moving, or different parts are twitching, or I don't know what's
moving. I don't
causing
know.
the movement feeling,
Yeah.
but
I heard one thing about the liver possibly getting bigger to help, like, could that
yeah.
be could that be happening? To help again purge more quicker. Let's clean out the systems, of anything that we know that no longer serves us. We hold it all in our body some way cellularly. So, it's, I think, really pushing to release and make room. That's shifting around. I really feeling that making room for space to feel that
I've
openness as opposed to the I can't breathe, right?
all right.
There's an openness down here that you can stand in. When we move up here, you all of a sudden we have to deal with that, and we feel it. But I think that shifting around is part of this, making this space of grounding inside of us that really is liberating when you're standing in your sovereignty. Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about, while we're kind of on the subject, talk about the whole deja vu thing that some
Mm.
people experience
Oh, I'm
because,
glad you remembered to bring that
okay,
up.
so I've had a few different ways in that this is sort of manifested. So you can have something that feels nostalgic, right? So it feels like a time when you were young and you get overwhelmed with the emotion of it. You could have a memory, you might or might not have a memory, but you definitely have that really strong nostalgic feeling, right? So then there's the feeling like you don't have the feeling, but yet it feels like the memory, like you've done it before, but
Yes.
not in a deja vu sort of way where it really feels like you're actually on the same exact track. Do you know what I mean? When you're having deja vu, it feels like I've done this exact thing before. I'm talking about, it's not deja vu. It's not the
The
nostalgia. It
nostalgia.
doesn't have the feeling with it. It's just, I remember this. Just simply, I
Yes.
remember this. I remember this person, and we've had a little bit of that, when you meet somebody, especially in our group, it's like, I feel like I know you. Like,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know,
That's what I mean.
but,
Yeah.
but also events and stuff. Like, it seems like I've done this event before. Not in but it's real important that I point out it's not in the way that you feel like, this is I'm having deja vu. It's not in a deja vu sort of way. It's almost like maybe you dreamt of something and you remember pieces of, or
Hmm.
something along those lines. I'm not really sure why,
Yeah.
but I wanted to bring it up because that ties into the next thing I've been experiencing, and that is the really strong nostalgic feeling. And I've gotten it about 3 or 4 times this week. One of them, just out of the clear blue, I remember I had to be 3 or younger. And don't judge my mom, guys. We were raised in a completely different era, right? But
Yeah.
I'm playing with one of those big metal Folgers cans with, like she gave it to me. Oh, I just got it again. Whenever I think about it, I'm taken back to that moment and I'm overwhelmed with the emotion of the accomplishment I guess I felt when she gave it to me to play. It was empty. She gave it to me to play on as a drum, right? Which I just got the feeling again.
Yeah. I can
and
hear it.
then but I popped the top off, and of course it's dangerous. And I don't know if I ended up cutting myself, and that's why the memory's there, or what it is. But it was, I guess, my first time playing with a Folgers can, and why I would remember that, I don't know. But I also had a song come on the radio by Olivia Newton-John, "Magic,"
Mm.
and I hadn't heard it since I was a kid. And I like looked it up and I read the lyrics, and it's totally like. In fact, I made a post because it's like your higher self
Hmm.
singing the song to you, and I'm
You
like,
have
holy
to
crap!
believe
Yeah,
your magic.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like listening to the lyrics, and I totally feel like it's like this message, for me in that very moment. And when I looked it up to play the lyric video, that right when the music played, I got the nostalgia of remembering putting the needle on the record. We had that
Mm.
record as a kid. So then, of course, I'm like, oh, let me look up the album art. And I look up the album art, and it totally brought back nostalgia. I remember looking at the album, thinking Olivia Newton-John looked like this angelic lady. She sounded like an angel, and just
Hmm.
listening to it and loving it. I had to be like 8 or something, right? So
Yes.
it was very young and pure and you know what I'm saying, like just in awe of this being or whatever, but had no idea the lyrics would play out in such a fantastic way. 40 years later, who would have
It's
thought?
amazing. Yeah.
Crazy. So that
And
sort of
it's
thing happening first. I don't know if it's first or senses having a sense of accomplishment, but having these memories with this strong nostalgia, and it's that specific one made me feel like it was like a message saying like we've always been here. I mean, that's what the lyrics actually say. We're guiding you in all this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just one of those moments where.
hmm Yeah, I think it's just really like we're experiencing our multidimensional selves, whether we realize it or not. And deja vu experience or nostalgia, or all those different sort of subsets of that experience are all part of the same thing. And the more it happens, it's more of that lift into a multi-dimensional experience, and recognizing, yes, you're always here, and you're shifting perspectives, and you um but then the other part of it too is an energetic inflation thing. It's calling us to remember who we truly, we're remembering sort of in those moments, that early childhood, the trueness of who we are in our experience and experiencing, and the purity of how we experience reality before all that came in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's that purity of experience that we're being called to remember, so that it's returning to us. And so we may be remembering those little scenarios, but it's the remembering ultimately of the true way to experience this reality, of how we know how to experience this
Yeah,
reality,
that's so funny
and the
because
purity of it.
that's so
Hmm?
funny that you say that because that's what really stuck out to me is the difference. And because I could kind of perceive it was a sense of accomplishment I was feeling, but I wasn't even yet able to know how to enjoy, or I don't want to say know how to enjoy it, but maybe I knew how to enjoy it better from what you're saying. You know what I mean? Maybe it was before all of the baggage gets thrown on to how we should experience and feel things, because it felt very different. I mean, it felt really good and pure, like what you're saying, but it's almost like it was almost an ignorance of not knowing. You know what I mean? But that's
Because it
sort
didn't
of,
have to be. Yeah, it's a purity of experience
yeah,
without any of those defaults,
yeah.
right?
So,
And yeah, and so we're being called in all these different ways to come back to that experience. And that may, in some of that way we may be being called to is partly by these triggers in whether or not you're going to be drawn into drama or not, and get into the whole, or you just going to keep that simple purity of experiences, being with yourself right now and how you want to experience right now. And so then moving forward with each action and each interaction with meeting that person in that moment right now, and making those decisions from there. That's what a child does,
mm-hmm.
right? So it's not like we forget our wisdom when we stop planning. We are, it's all in there. I think that's a part of this weird thing that the memory is getting really blurry right now, because I mean, you can forget like an hour ago was that yesterday to today, but the information is there if we're with ourselves,
All right,
right? We just go back in, breathe, collect, go back into the library, and you can pull out whatever it is you need in a different way. So
yeah.
it's just switching gears, try to get us to work through reality that way, without the worry and the pre-planning, because you should, you would, you could.
Isn't that true? That's
Mm-hmm.
totally true.
Yeah.
So, anything else coming up that we haven't mentioned that we took notes on or anything?
Um.
Still doing
No,
the
I think
breathing
that's good.
thing?
What's that?
I said we're still doing the breathing thing, guys. We think that's just an
Yeah.
excellent way to take control of your feelings and center it. I've been having to do it anytime I've been getting any of these anxious feelings I'm talking about. It's just, and it works
Mm-hmm.
really quickly. I mean, like
Yeah.
almost as instantly as it turns on, you just turn it right back off. You know.
Yeah, I really, really do find that it's a constant reminder and a very noticeable difference of when if I shift out of that
Yeah.
and feeling that level of agitation. But again, equally easy to just go, okay, I know what to do. I feel it. There it is. Like that's so quick, you know?
Yeah.
And then to draw myself back into my presence, you know, of
Yeah.
now. Do you feel it? Oh, okay, I feel it. There it is. That's me. That's me right there. There we
Mm-hmm.
are. Okay. Now I can step forward again, right?
Yeah.
So just yeah, just that practice and slowing down to do it. Not rushing to make judgment, rushing to do all of these things. Because as soon as we do, oh, right?
So much is liberating once you realize, letting it go. It feels so much better than hanging on to it and dragging it around. You're like, oh, I wish I would have known.
Yeah.
But it's a
That's
process.
that's should I share that dream that with the I don't care?
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, and it's kind of like really about all of this stuff that we're talking about, and what I've been finding in dream scenarios lately is I'm very like I'm encountering a lot of situations and people that are, you know, they're sort of really agitated or sort of stuck in their own loop, and I don't really get that involved. Like I may like just pop in, point something out, and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about this?" Cool,
Yeah,
out of there. You know, I'm not staying embroiled. Just kind of like bop in and do a little guru thing, and then
yeah,
out I go, and I'm off somewhere else. Uh, so I'm observing the drama, but I'm not emotionally present in the drama by any means at all. I don't. It's really really amazing feeling to not feel emotionally involved or
right.
not have to be and not feel the guilt that you're required to be emotionally involved. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Or
matter.
enjoy the feeling of seeing that you help pull somebody out of their drama a little bit. Because
Yeah, and leave it and but
occasionally,
just leave
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
like you can drop the seed and you can go.
right,
You know, like yeah, you can just they can take it, they can leave it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? So, but anyways, I had this super vivid experience in particular with sort of was this younger girl. And it looks like that, you know, it was sort of they were protesting like outside, looked like they were kind of like on the steps of something, and you know, she's really agitated and you know, she's like talking at me and so in talking at me, you know, she's not really looking at me, you know, she's making her arguments, you know, which all sound really great about like why I should be really upset about this and you know why I should care. um and this wasn't sarcasm or anything like that. It was an energetic thing. But and I'm looking at her and I'm noticing I'm trying to lock in with her eyes, and her like eyes are trying to go anywhere but me, and she's throwing all these arguments at me, right? And I'm just waiting for the connection point, and I'm like, look at me, look at me, look at me, till she can't, and then she locks in, and all I see is her eyes, and I'm locked into her eyes. And I said, look, I don't care. I don't care. Like, look deep within me. There is not a care given anywhere in here, you know?
yeah,
And it was just, and it was an energetic thing. It wasn't a sarcastic thing. I think what was going on was like, you need to feel what this is like all these emotion, all this show, all these emotional arguments, all of this, none of it can touch what's in here, in that openness, in that sovereignty. Look deep within me.
mm-hmm.
There's no attachment, right? And it was an energetic trick because it was like she started short circuiting. It was like, how do I cope with that, like what tactic do I don't have a tactic against that. There's nothing in my arsenal anymore that I can say, do, or use that can have any kind of argument to that. And it was like a short circuit, like right. There was no, and again, there was no like pride, ego. There was nothing like that. It was an energetic exchange of look deep within me. This is what it feels like to not have to carry what it is you're carrying right now, right? And then again, I was just out of there. I was like, I don't care. But it was also, I know it was an energetic experience for me too. Like feel it deep, all that space inside of me and how much larger I am within that, because I don't have to be taking up space with that other stuff. I don't have to be taking in those arguments. I don't have to be taking in all that stuff that they're throwing at you to care. You should care. So,
Right. Ultimately, it's our choice what we allow and what we give our attention to. And I
yeah.
think more than ever, we're learning that where attention goes, energy flows, and we don't want to put a bunch of attention into a bunch of stuff we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
I know I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. So I really encourage people to be like very, very deeply, like get familiar with that, whether or not you're centered, like what we're saying, am I outside myself? And very much so, like in that experience with other people. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand? Like they're doing their song and dance. They're throwing, okay, I'll say this, I'll do this to make you care. And it's hard for us as empaths, as caring people, to have a clear conscience and to be able to stand and say, no, I don't need to. I don't need to care. I don't need to take up space with that in here. So and just how to, to start feeling that, familiarizing yourself and interact with how to be loving, how to emit love, yet
Mm-hmm.
not care. It's very true. I know some people are going to be triggered by this. You're going to think I'm maybe, it sounds mean. Um,
Well,
and
there's a
it's an
difference in
energetic
having,
thing, right? It's a very sensitive topic, but
but it's different when it's an actual issue that's not just kind of how many issues are sort of just manufactured out of nothing, right?
yeah.
So it's not like you see somebody on the side of the road in need, and you're like, I don't care. That's their car that
No,
broke down. I mean, that's completely different, right? That's different
totally.
than like, I've got this big mess. Would you like to come in here and play in it with me? No, I. You can come out of that though. Did you know you've chosen to get in that mess, to
That's
be
it.
in there? You're choosing to stay. I mean,
Yeah. Because
you
feel
know,
this. This feels really good. You don't have to hold all that.
right?
Yeah, that's really more of it. And you're dealing with that everything in the now, like in that moment of now, and you're driving down the road and you see a person that requires help.
Right.
Of course. We are that loving people. It doesn't discount that. But
Both
when the
reactions are
person we pull
compassionate.
over, what's that?
I said both reactions are compassionate, though.
They
Although they seem like opposites, they're really not. It's the
yeah.
compassionate thing to do.
Yeah, but when we pull over to the side of the road and that person starts to give us a whole story of everything, we don't have to necessarily get pulled into their whole story and believing and taking in that whole story. They can. That's cool. That's okay. I don't need to
Right.
change them out of it. I don't need to tell them different. And we can love them in their story,
Yeah.
as they're experiencing their story. That's cool. And we can help them. They need help with the car, great. But we don't have to take that whole, which often happens with the people that really like to carry victim stories, or the justice warrior. The justice warrior is really active right now, and in that, what they can throw at you as far as, you being ignorant or not caring or selfish or all those different things for not getting emotionally involved or taking part in their activism, right?
Or even
So
going as far as to play on your love and sympathy and
mm,
kindness.
yes,
To use that against us. I mean, you see that.
yes,
That's been nobody's a stranger to that. Any light worker that grew up has been taken advantage of time and time again, and it's really no different now that we there's times to take a stand for ourselves and not let people run all over us and things like
yeah.
that. It's not that you're being loving and everything to take that. You know what I mean? You do have to take up for yourself. So
Yeah,
it,
it's important that we have our boundaries, right? And
yeah,
that in each moment we meet each person in each situation where they're at and where we are, and are respecting our boundaries, because we just know where they are. We don't have to fight for them. We don't have to explain them. And we don't have to be necessarily drawn into these, and it's hard. It's not easy. I don't know. We're rooting for this and we're rooting for that. And we're all experiencing this reality. It's okay. And we dip into it and we have an opinion. That's cool. But we can experience having an opinion and also experience that somebody else has an opinion and experience them having an opinion without it triggering us. Right? Without it having to feel like we have to defend our reality.
And that's funny that you just said that. It's so funny that all these little synchronistic things happen, because I was just thinking how, our reality and the reality of people that we love and stuff, it actually seems like it's harder to let stuff go when you see for someone else. Like, you feel like you want to take up for someone. Like, it would be easier for me to let something go about myself than if I saw somebody messing with you.
For sure.
Now I feel like, so it's harder to not get triggered for other people than myself, because I can let stuff go easily. In fact, I've had to remove comments because I didn't realize, like, somebody might say something mean to me, I just blow it off. But then, like, I've got all these viewers that love me, and they're like, "How dare you?" And I'm like, "Whoa, I better start removing these, because I'm blowing it off, but the people that love me are, like, getting triggered by it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that?" So yeah, I just get rid of them now, if they're sort of mean. I don't want all my viewers to get triggered, But.
Exactly, because we're just taking it in energetically, and you don't need anybody to do. But I know, like, that comes out for me. Like, you're ready to put the boxing gloves on and get in the corner, right? So you and I are both like that, and I know that we've both felt that way about each other, over several things over the last few years, and but we don't. I think we're also getting to the point where we can go, hey, we know we don't need to do that anymore now too. I know you're like, you got it. You're good. You got this, kid. No problem. And I know these, you're not going to get as caught up and embroiled in these things too. So people are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to say what they're going to say. That's it. Plain and simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I see, Raul, you got some stuff to share. Maybe you can call in Friday night. We can talk about the astrological stuff. Jamie, you too? All right, so that's awesome. 111, I should have known. Perfect.
Of course.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Michelle.
Always love you, bro. Love you all.
Yeah, always look forward to it.
Thanks for listening, guys. And please leave a comment on what, if there's anything you want us to talk about more, or something that you're experiencing, because there's so many different things, and sometimes we just forget, and I'll even write notes and forget to mention it. But if you guys are experiencing any symptoms that you want to talk about more, or whatever it is, please let us know down there in the comments, so we can make sure we touch on that topic. And even by putting it in there yourself, you might be able to get a lot of responses from other people. Let us know.
Absolutely. Yeah, because the thing is, I don't know how many times I'm talking to you and you'll bring something up and I'm like, oh, that's been happening to me. I had no idea. I don't know. I just thought I was having stomach issues or something, And then it just dawns on me. And then you hear other people are doing it. So even though I know better, I still get caught in that hole, forgetting to mention it. Just in case. I mean, it might be just a personal thing, but more times than not, it seems like other people are like, oh my gosh, I'm having that too. I've been dealing with that too. So it's really nice to have our little community here to discuss week after week. So please do leave your comments below. If you're having something that we didn't mention or anything,
or if it's personal, email us.
If it's personal.
Because you don't want to leave it in the comments with your name on it. You don't want to put it in a chat, or you don't want to get in a debate with anybody else or whatever. Right. You can just email one of us too. So
okay. Yeah. I've also heard that I just keep forgetting. It was actually a couple weeks ago I heard that the cycle for some women has halved. So they're going through their monthly cycle every 2 weeks or something like that.
Oh, wow.
That's something else I should mention. If you have irregular cycles or something, that might be something that...
If that's, that might be a good thing to put. Yeah.
All righty, you guys. Lots of love, light, and unity. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.